Hey, 60, how's everybody today? Okay, so here's a great story, and it's a true story. It's kind of amazing, right? The best stories are always true stories. So when I was like 18, I don't know, what year was that? I don't know, 79, I guess? I lived in central Pennsylvania, right? Remember Pennsylvania? It's a shoebox. And on one side, there's Philadelphia. And on the other side, there's Pittsburgh. And in the middle, Kentucky, right? So I was raised in a small town in central Pennsylvania. And my mother had taken up with a black man. And we became the Black Brady Bunch. And I had brothers, I had stepbrothers, and then I had a sister, half black, half white, that they had together, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, once I got in high school, I got in a lot of trouble, was headed for George Jr., which is a prison for kids, whatever. Anyway, so my high school coach takes me in, it works out, blah, blah, blah. Great success story, right? And then I'm going to college at Point Park University in Pittsburgh, the leading university on Wood Street. And so I come home for the summer, and I'm staying with the Barners. And of course I go back and forth, I see my parents, stop by my mom's house, whatever. And I come in the house, and William, my stepdad, who's black, and one of the best and toughest guys that I'd ever met in my whole life. He was a no-nonsense guy. And I come in the house, and he's sitting at the kitchen table, and he has a handful of bills in his hands. I'm like, where's everybody? The house is empty and quiet. I'd never seen it like that ever in my life. And he had a stack of bills in his hands, and he burst into tears, and he said, your mother's gone, and she took Chris and Billy with her, and I don't know where she is. Like, how long? He's like, 2 or 3 weeks. I was like, why didn't you call me? So I went to my grandmother's house. I hated my grandmother. And we all did, and we'll get to that someday. Why? But anyway, I went to my grandmother's house, and she was about this big, and I was like, hey, where's my mom? And she's like, I'm not telling you where your mother is. She needs to get away from you people. Bah, bah, bah. You people. Only you people. We mean you people. And, she needs to get away from you people, and you leave her alone. And I just grabbed her little fucking Irish peanut head, said, if you don't tell me where it is, where she is, I'm going to lock you in the basement, which is what you used to do to us when we were children. Okay? So I put the fear of God in her, and I really did, because she's only this big, and I was pissed. So she told me, and what had happened was, here's the story. William was a guy who went to work every day. He worked on Route 80. He was a construction worker, operated heavy equipment in the summer. So he's working on Route 80. He would come home and hand his paycheck to my mother. My mother would pay the bills and whatever. And that's how a lot of men lived at that time. Probably still do. So anyway, what happened was my mother had been taking his paychecks for months, and she had been saving it and not paying the bills. And then she took off and got on a bus and took my little brother and my little sister, Chris, and Billy Joe was the girl, Billy Joe, my little sister Billy, and they rode a bus and moved to Phoenix, Arizona with her Aunt Cass, who was married to a sheriff there. So she told me that, and I left. So then I went back, and I seen Caldwell. I've seen William. Sometimes I'll call him Caldwell. I saw William, and I said, what are we going to do? And it's the only time I had ever seen him cry. My whole life. The only time. Well, twice. One other time. I'll tell you about that later. But it was the first time I had seen him cry. And I said, what are you going to do? He's like, I don't know what to do. I said, I'll go get her. He said, what? And I said, I'll go get her. I said, yeah, I'll go get her. So I decided that the next morning I would leave for Arizona, and he dropped me off on Route 80 in Clearfield, Pennsylvania. Route, I think it's exit 16 or 17, I forget. And I hitchhiked across America to Phoenix. Now, hitchhiking comes from hoboing, and hoboing was homeless boys that traveled from city to city, jumping railroad cars, looking for work during the Great Depression. Then after World War II and our infrastructure improved in America, our highways under Eisenhower became great and bold projects, people started hitchhiking. That means using your thumb, standing by a road, and relying on the kindness of strangers, and people thought nothing of picking up a hitchhiker. Of course, that's how you get killed, of course, and that's, I don't even know if it's legal anymore. I haven't seen anybody do that in 20 years. But when I was a kid, especially during the 60s, during that time, and then in the 70s, it was just a very common thing. I mean, I wouldn't walk 2 miles. If I was going 2 miles in Pittsburgh or downtown or in Clifton, boom, thumb out, somebody ride by that would know me, I get a ride, boom, and you're golden, right? So anyway, he dropped me off. I had my on a pair of bib overalls. I had a beater on underneath it. I had long hair. I had sunglasses on, and I had an orange backpack. And I had $4 in cash and $20 in food stamps. Yep, that's true. And the very first ride I got was from a guy whose name was Tom Moore, and Tom was from Bluebell, Pennsylvania. And Tom was driving to the Four Seasons Motel in Colorado Springs to attend a World War II reunion. How about that? Isn't that amazing? Very first ride. And I hadn't had much driving experience at requirement, certainly none driving cross country, but I shared the driving with him. And but our first order of business was he had to stop in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania to attend a funeral of a guy that he served in World War II with. And I went to that funeral in my bib overalls with my long hair and beater and sunglasses. And then afterwards we went to the wake, and the ladies gave us all the leftover food for our trip. So that was great. So I didn't have to spend a dime. So I get from here to Colorado Springs, and I still have $4 in cash and $20 in food stamps. And he was a great guy. In fact, he and I even stayed in touch for a few years after that. God bless him, So, and then of course, I leave from Colorado Springs, and then I hitchhike the rest of the way to Phoenix, Arizona, and I get from Clearfield, Pennsylvania to Phoenix, Arizona in 7 days. Then I finally find the address, and that was a frustrating part because I lived on a cul-de-sac. I didn't understand quite how the numbers work, and I finally found the house on Orange Blossom Drive in Phoenix, Arizona. And I knocked on the door, and I'll never forget my little sister screaming, "I knew he would come and get us." So that's kind of what happened. And so I talked to my mother and told her that she was needed at home. And I wonder to this day if I did the right thing. I wonder if I should have just left her be. I do wonder about that. But I talked to my mother, and of course my little brother and sister were so happy to see me, and they hated it there, and they wanted to go back home. And eventually, after a couple of days, I talked my mother into going back in. William sent money for bus tickets, but he didn't have enough for me. So I had to hitchhike back. And it was 2 weeks. How about that? It took 2 weeks to get back hitchhiking. But it was a great adventure. It was my coming of age story, I guess. I remember at one point, I needed a shower and a bath so bad. And I went into a hotel lobby, and I asked the guy at the desk, I said, hey, can I have a room for an hour or two, a used room that was so I could just take a shower and take a nap, because I hadn't slept in a bed in 8 days maybe. And they were like, oh, no, sir, we can't let you do that. And I said, well, then here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit in the lobby and shit myself, and then you can call the cops, and then the cops can come, and I'll be the crazy person that they have to take out of here in handcuffs, or you can just let me use the room. He was like, here, room 114, you have 2 hours. It was the best 2 hours of my whole life. I showered for an hour, and I slept for an hour, and it was like my life started over. So that was, and then I got back home eventually. So that was, boy, did I have some adventures during that, 4 or 5 week period of my life. Holy shit, right? I've the older I've gotten, I've wondered how my life, or how my brother, little brother, and little sister, and how my mother's life may have turned out had I not interfered. And that kind of eats at me at times. But anyway, it's amazing the things you'll do. The things you do for love, right? It's amazing. But I love my mom, and I love my little brother, and little sister, and I just thought home was the place for them to be. And all right. So B-60 today. Be nice, and most of all, try not to beat yourself up today. Today's a great day. Peace. B-60.